So in today's class, we are continuing with the speaking that we began the last time. We have Alvira with us, and this is from June 2024, paper 3, variant 1. So we did the warm up and the interview, and the time on the stopwatch was 5 minutes and 8 seconds. So we are going to move on to the short talk now. Alvira, I'll be sharing the card with you, right? And you're familiar with the instructions, but I'll still read them out. Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what the examiner will say to you is this part. Okay. So the second assessed part of the test is a short talk. I will give you a card and you will have 1 minute to read it and think about what you want to say. You should talk about the points on the card. You can't make any written notes. So you're not allowed to have a pencil paper in the exam. And even now, even though you're at your home or wherever you are, do not write anything down, right? Because that will not be a positive habit of yours. You'll get used to writing things down in the exam. You won't have that with you, and so you'll struggle. So it is all, thinking. It's all mental gymnastics and exercise, right? So you have to think of the points, collect your points, and keep them there for the talk. So you can ask me if there's anything that you do not understand. You may keep the card until the end of the short talk, and here's your card. And after they say that, that is when they'll give you this. I shared it with you earlier, and so this is the only part that I'm highlighting. This is the only part that will be printed on the card that they give you. All right, so it's titled Inventions. The question is, obviously the examiner will not read the question to you, right? So you're reading it on your own. Your teacher has asked you to choose the best invention for the home. You are considering the following devices: a microwave or a TV remote control. Talk about how useful each device is. You talk about both of them. Say which option you would choose and why. So which option you would choose as the best invention. Right, so they're both useful. Obviously, you're going to talk about how useful they are, but then which one's the best. And so uh, you'll have 1 minute to prepare. That means just think about the points and everything you want to say. And then you will have up to 2 minutes to talk about it. All right.
Okay,
So,
sir.
right, I am starting the timer, and you have 1 minute starting now to think about it. Okay. After 1 minute, I will prompt you to speak. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Your time starts now. All right, Amira. Time's up. Are you
Okay,
prepared?
sir.
Are you prepared?
Yes.
Right now, you must have felt that that was very short.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And so, again, practice on your own, practice coming up with ideas, collecting points, right? You cannot, I've said this so many times, you cannot simply depend on the little practice that we're doing in class. These classes are primarily to guide you in your preparation, right? You cannot take them as the whole of the preparation.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you have 2 minutes. I'm starting the timer and you can start talking. All right,
Okay.
go.
The two devices I'm considering are a microwave and a television remote control. Both have their different functions. Each option has its own perks and handicaps. First of all, I'm gonna talk about a microwave. A microwave is incredibly useful for quickly heating food and preparing simple meals. It saves time, which is beneficial for busy households, and it is energy efficient for preparing small portions compared with a full-size oven. A microwave is helpful for families who need to reheat leftovers. Now I'm gonna talk about the benefits of a television remote control. A television remote control is beneficial for convenience. It can allow for channel switching, volume control, and a smart access to TV features from a comfortable position.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yes,
Please go on.
even a television remote control can help us make multimedia devices accessible from a limited mobility.
Okay, which one would you prefer and why?
I would prefer a microwave because it has more benefits. It can help us in routine domestic tasks like for cooking when we want to have a quick meal.
All right, Alvira, thank you for your response. Now, since time was up, I had to stop. Okay. Now,
Okay.
general feedback for your response. The positive first, I would say that your phrasing and vocabulary were good, right? Obviously, your speech was a bit slow. You were really thinking about how to say it, and that is good in a sense that you weren't getting stuck and you weren't using crutch words and or and repeating yourself. So that was good. That's a good part, right? As I mentioned, you don't necessarily have to be fast if you are if the points that you're presenting are good and they're thought out. The area of improvement would be when you started your response, you first of all give an introduction that I am going to talk about these two devices and they both have their benefits and drawbacks or limitations and perks and what you said. You don't need that because obviously the question is there, right? And the question, the card that you have, right? This is not the card, like the one I'm sharing with you is not the card that will be shared with you. Okay? The card that will be shared with you will be just a page with only this part of the text. Wait, sorry, with only this part of the text printed on it. So all of this is the examiner's paper. Everything else that's given over there, right? The only thing you'll have is a page with just this part that I've highlighted, that printed on. And so you have the question, the examiner has the question. So you don't need to repeat the question. You don't need to say, I'm going to talk about this because we know what you're going to talk about. That is the question given to you. And then, right, your style was, I would say, a bit too formal, right? So you need to be more relaxed and more casual. That does not mean that you don't use good vocabulary, right? So your phrasing and vocabulary was good, but your overall approach, your sort of tone, I would say, was as if you were giving like a very formal answer, as if this was like a report that someone's asked you to give. And right, so you need to first of all sort of relax your tone. You need to be calm mentally, right? So you need to practice to be calm in your mind and then speak like you would normally speak. Like if you normally speak the way you did, that's a different matter, right? So I mean, you could practice on being more casual, but then this close to the exam, the problem that students face is, right, if what the teacher's telling them is different from what they're used to, and so that causes confusion and right, so they get stuck in between. So if you can, like, if normally you're more casual and over here you're feeling a bit tense, is that the case, Alvira?
Yes, sir.
Like, were you feeling a bit tense when you were speaking?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that may be why. So again, you need to relax. And you need to, again, as I've already mentioned like a couple of times, right, be a bit more casual. I wouldn't like say informal, but just relaxed. Okay, I could feel the tension in your in your voice. Okay, so those are areas of improvement. Right now, obviously, I would and could say that you could add more points, you could, sort of speed up, but again, that would come with more practice. So what I suggested to you the last time, speaking on your own, recording yourself, and then playing it back, and I know it's going to be difficult. Listening to yourself is difficult. It is difficult for me as well. But if I want to improve, right, that's something I need to do.
Sir, I was scared because I thought that I don't know how to speak.
Well, you do know how to speak. That is another problem that students, right? I mean, students tend to go one way or the other. Either they become overconfident, which is obviously not a good thing, or they underestimate themselves, which is also not a good thing. So they can perform, but they're like scared or overwhelmed or stressed, right? So Ima, she hasn't joined yet, but it's happened more than once. She's like, sorry, I can't do this. I make mistakes, and then when I make her do it in class, she has like an almost perfect result most of the time, right? So on her own, she's a bit anxious, perhaps. So don't underestimate yourself, but don't be overconfident. Like you need to be realistic in knowing where you stand. Like, can you do this or not? And obviously, practicing and improving. Practicing and improving is always there, right? So and revisiting points and polishing up on even stuff that you already know. But of course, that perhaps doesn't apply to this scenario. So yes, you do know how to speak, right? Just work on the suggestions that I've given to you, and inshallah we'll see more improvement. Now I'll stop sharing because this is the only part of the test that you'll get to see in your speaking.
Sir,
Yes.
can you kindly, is it possible for you to start every class with a small speaking? Because we have speaking exam. It
Yeah,
is very near.
yeah, I know. So right, my focus would be on the speaking and the writing. That's basically what the focus is, right? The listening and the reading that we did, that was sort of a filler. It was actually requested, so that's why I did it. Otherwise, I had handed the listening and the reading uh, to write the class like Afan and Aima way back in, I believe, December, right? So speaking and writing is what we'll be doing now. If you're ready, we'll move on to the last part.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I am starting. All right, this is part 3, which is called the discussion. It will last 3 to 4 minutes. This is what the examiner will tell you. Now I'm going to ask you a few questions related to the topic you have just talked about.
Okay, sir.
This part of the test will last for approximately 3 minutes. Why? Because the 1 minute is for the examiner giving you the instructions and everything. Before we start, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, here we go. Alvira,
Yes, sir.
young people are more interested in new devices than older devices. Do you agree?
Yes, sir, I agree. Young people are more interested in new devices as compared to older people because young people they adapt they adopt new devices faster as they grow with it, and even they are exposed to it at school, and even they do their homework sitting on their computer. um
Okay, I'll move on to the next question. There is an
okay.
opinion that the aeroplane is the best invention. What do you think?
Yes, aeroplane is the best invention because it can carry doctors, medicines, and food to places where they need help. Aeroplane can help people to visit to their families, go to their work. Even airplanes can help people from different countries to visit to their country or to another country in just few hours, which may take time. Without aeroplane, the people would take days or weeks to visit to another country.
Okay. Now,
Even-
in the future, robots will do all the housework. Do you agree?
Yes, in the future, take robot much do more of the housework because robots are very intelligent. I think robots robots may take over routine tasks, and robots can work continuously for 24 hours without charging its fee, which a human may get tired if it had to do the work for 24 hours. And even the robot can be sent to dangerous places, which could be risky for people. Robots.
Okay. Now, let's move on to the last question. Thank you for your
Okay.
response. Uh, do you think that learning about science is more important than learning about art?
I think learning about science and arts both are important. Some people think that learning about science is more important because science teaches us how the world works, and even it gives us information about some inventions like aeroplanes, computers, and medicines. Uh, Science has its own advantages, but arts is also important. It teaches us about feelings, about cultures and designs, how to design it, how to structure it. Even it teaches us how to put our thoughts into an image, how to paint it, color it. So both are important.
All right, Alvira, thank you for your response. Now, that is the end of the test, and the examiner would say end of recording. Obviously, I'm going to continue recording because I'm not in that situation. Uh, so, yes, so your your response to the last question was particularly good. Obviously, some polishing in terms of grammar. As for your response to the second and third questions, right? So I'll just put that up on screen now since we are formally done. By the way, Afan, is your mic working since Aima hasn't joined? Right? Has she? There's no message. So yeah, so right, get your mic working because you're up next. Okay. So the second question, there is an opinion that the aeroplane is the best invention. I felt that you were struggling there and with the third one as well. More so in sort of putting your thoughts into words, not with the thoughts themselves. You had the ideas. So, right, two particular phrases I caught on, like I want to highlight. For the aeroplane question, you said it helps people to visit to their families, and that would be an incorrect phrasing, right? So what you want to say is it really makes it easier for people to visit their families or their countries, not to their country. That makes it easier for people to visit their country or family or whatever. So, right, that's how you would phrase it. And for the robot question, you said you started off, I believe, that robots much do the housework. So you'd want to say robots do much of the housework. So robots are able to do much of the housework or many of the tasks that are considered as housework. So that's how we want to do it. Now, very briefly to go over those responses, or perhaps to give my own version of those. You'd say that the airplane, I believe, is certainly the best invention. Now, you don't need to agree. Remember, you don't need to agree with this. But since you are agreeing, so the airplane certainly is the best invention. It has so many benefits. Primarily, the decrease in travel time, and that has brought people closer together. It has made many things more efficient. It has boosted trade and travel, and right, people, it makes it much easier to go further and then come back, which would have taken days or weeks or even months earlier on. Right, and reaching, providing emergency supplies, for example, medicines to hospitals across, halfway across the world, and those can be delivered very quickly, whereas that would have not been possible without the airplane, and so many lives can be saved. You can obviously go, like, we can talk about the tourism that's promoted, which helps the economy, and it also helps people travel and see new places and learn and gain new experiences. So they're just a more perhaps fluent version of what you were trying to suggest. As for the robot question, so starting off the way I mentioned, so robots are able to handle many of the tasks that are considered as housework. They can obviously be designed and programmed for particular tasks. Now, robots, we might think that they look like humans and they're walking around and picking stuff up. But in reality, we have robots in our house, even now. Like, for example, the dishwasher, right? In a more general sense, it is a robot, right? Because it's been programmed for a specific task. Or the washing machine. So, right, we have many appliances that are automated for particular tasks, and we've got more and more of those every day. And we're actually moving towards complete automation, right? So now we have perhaps to collect clothes and put them in the washing machine or the dryer, or to collect dishes and put them in the dishwasher, or get toast out of the fridge and put it in the toaster. But you know automation can reach levels where there's robots that are getting bread out of the fridge and putting in the toaster and then serving it to you on the table. We are going in that direction. We have got, for example, the electric air fryer and the electric rice cooker, and many other things which can, even though they're called appliances, they can broadly be, I guess, considered robots in that sense. And so, yes, many of the house tasks in the future will probably be done by robots, which will hopefully leave us more time to ourselves, provided that we're actually able to afford that kind of lifestyle, right? Because robots will obviously not be coming in cheap, right? You have to pay for them, and the electricity will be using up, and the maintenance. So, yes. Now, you did mention about the recharging and the time, and humans won't be able to do that. So you can add those points as well. So just my suggestion on how you could go on to respond to this. Again, practice and you will improve. Now, we're done with your turn. Afan, are you ready? Could you say something?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. All right. Are you ready for the speaking?
Yes.
Okay, so as with Alvira, I will not be showing you the questions except for second part, the short talk. Okay. So I'm going to get started, and we're going to go through the warm up for a minute or so. and then we'll move on to the actual assessment. So I'm starting the clock. I hope you're ready. First, we will start with a short warm up where I will ask you some questions to find out more about you. This part is not assessed. After the warm up, there are three assessed parts of the test: the interview, the short talk, and a discussion. Afan, can you tell me something about your family?
My family consists of five people: my parents, my brother, and my sister. I'm the oldest brother in my I'm the oldest in my family, and then comes my brother, and then my sister.
Okay. What kind of music do you listen to?
I don't listen to any specific type of music, but whenever I'm with my friends or family, I just listen to the music they put. In the case of my friends, we listen to um rap music, I guess, and then in my family, I don't know the music we listen to.
Okay. How do you get to school every morning?
Every morning I get to school by bus. Um, as my house is far away from the school, and it takes about 20 minutes to reach school. So that is why I use my bus, and my father can't drop me off to school as he leaves from home early in the morning.
Okay. Now, the first assessed part of the test is an interview. I'm going to ask you some questions about staying healthy. Try to say as much as you can for each question. Before we start, do you have any questions?
No,
Okay. Afan, can you tell me what you and your friends do to stay healthy?
we mainly do outdoor activities like basketball, football, running, cycling, and also we tend to remind each other of eating well, as whenever someone in our friends group is out of shape, we tend to get them in shape by making them work out more. And like for example, whenever it's a weekend, we make plans of going outside and playing basketball.
Okay. Can you tell me about a time when you spent time outdoors and what you did?
I spent time outdoors in the recent weekend. I went to play football and basketball with my friends. We spent around 3 to 4 hours playing, and we took breaks after every 30 minutes. It was a really good experience, and uh, yes, I'm done.
Okay. Do you think our modern lifestyle makes it difficult for people to stay healthy? Why or why not?
Yes, I think modern lifestyle makes it difficult for us to stay healthy, because in our lifestyle we um in mine basically, uh, it's mostly social media and studies, which is why um, um, students or people like me aren't able to find time to uh, aren't able to find time to stay healthy and do their outdoor activities.
Hmm. Okay. Now we'll be moving on to right, part two. So the second assess part of the test is a short talk. I'll give you a card and you have 1 minute to read it and think about what you want to say. You should talk about the points on the card. You can't make any written notes, but you can ask me if there's anything you do not understand. You can you may keep the card until the end of the short talk. Here is your card. Let me just put that up on screen. Oh wait, have I been sharing the screen all this time?
Sir, I can't see your screen.
You can't see it?
I can see me, Alvira, and you. The tiles for profiles.
Okay, it was showing me as if I was sharing my screen. I don't know. Can you see it now?
Yes.
That's good. Okay. So, right, this is your question, right? Your teacher has asked you to write something for the school. Again, I'm reading it to you. The exam will not read it to you. You're considering the following options: a report on a school sports event, a short story about a holiday. Explain how easy or difficult each option would be for you. So you're writing it for a school newspaper. Say which you would prefer and why. So I'm giving you 1 minute, right? After which I'll ask you to speak on it. So your time starts now. All right, your time's up, Afan. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, then you may begin.
For me, writing a report on a school sports event would be um would be easier, as I enjoy sports and attend most school sports events. So I already have a good understanding of how things work at school and the kind of information that needs to be included, such as the teams, the scores, the sports, the key moments. I think it would be really straightforward for me to structure the report in a clear way, as I know much about it. And the main challenge might be ensuring that my language is engaging enough to have the reader um, find my report interesting. On the other hand, writing a short story about a holiday would be more difficult for me. While I've been on holidays, creating um, a clear plot of the story with interesting characters and language requires some imagination and writing skill, and it would take um, a bit of more time compared to the school event report. So, and I would struggle to make the story original and engaging for the readers of the school newspaper. Um, Therefore, I would prefer to write the report on a school sports event because I'm confident and I could produce a good quality report with less difficulty and a shorter period of time.
Okay, so you completed that within the given time. We actually had about 10 seconds or so to spare. Uh, okay, so that was a complete response. For your holiday bit, so one thing is that you started off by presenting, your preference, which is fine, right? Because you did cover why you would prefer it, and you also talked about why you would not prefer writing the story on the holiday. So uh, a phrase or something that you could have added to your response about the holiday was that it would be tricky or challenging or difficult or for you to you know express your experience, your holiday experience, as a narrative, because that's what a story is. It's a narrative, right? So expressing that in the form of a story as a narrative and presenting myself and everyone else as characters and making it engaging enough for the students to actually want to read it, right? And it's not something that I'm apt at. You could go on to say that I've never been particularly good at writing stories, even for my English class. You could say that. And so, given the option, I would definitely go for the sports thing. It's more, uh, I don't know, did you say it's more up your alley or down your alley?
So,
You,
could you repeat?
are you familiar with the phrase up your alley?
I'm talking about what phrase I use.
No, no, the phrase I'm suggesting. Just a sec. So, yeah, up your right up one's street. So you could use that phrase, well suited to one's tastes, interests, or abilities. So writing about sports would be right up my alley.
Okay.
Okay, so another thing I wanted to mention, I forgot that for part one, is right. So for the interview questions, uh, you were repeating the questions as part of your answer, and I've said that time and again. Don't do that.
Yes, sir. I tried
Yeah,
not
so
to, but
it was better. I admit it was better. You weren't like repeating the question word for word, and one reason for that, I guess, is because you couldn't see the questions on screen.
yes.
So that helps. So yeah, but try even more not to repeat the question.
Okay. Sir, could you tell me how I get straight into the answer?
So for example, if I just go back, we take a look at one of these questions. So the second question, right? Can you tell me about a time when you spent time outdoors and what you did? And you could say, well, it was just last week when I went with my friends to, like a desert park in, I don't know, Fujairah or something, right? And or we went to the beach. It was just last week we went to the beach, and right, we did have a swim. We enjoyed the weather and played beach volleyball and beach football, and did some barbecue. So you see how I didn't like repeat like a time when you went, right, like it was just last week that we did this, or
Okay.
right, or something like it. Obviously depends on the question. So do you think our modern lifestyle makes it difficult for people to stay healthy? Why or why not? So you could say, well, from my personal observations and experience, that would certainly be the case, right? We are all so busy with our jobs or our responsibilities, and when we do get free time, we are engrossed in social media, and we don't really go out. We don't really eat healthy, right? Fast food is convenient. It's you know enticing, and so that's the choice of food, and we're not active, and so obviously that has a negative effect on our health. So right, modern life, and you see how I did not repeat the question.
Yes.
Okay, so you could do that. Also, you said for this question, the second one, you said uh, in the like in weekend, something in weekend, right? So
I said on.
no, you actually like in your mind it would have been on, but you said in, and so
Okay.
right. So I wanted to point that out, and so it should have been on weekend. So that's okay. Now I'm going to stop sharing for you, and I'm moving on to part three, which is the discussion, right? Because that is still pending, and we got right. So 7:21. Okay, 4 minutes. So that's 11:20. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you a few questions related to the topic we just talked about. This part of the test will last for approximately 3 minutes. Before we start, do you have any questions?
No.
Right, Afan. Do you think working as a journalist or a TV reporter is an interesting job? Why or why not?
I think working as a TV reporter is an interesting job because you get to know more of the news you would actually not be interested in, and you'd get to know uh, the events happening in the outside world, whether you're interested in them or not, and you'd have to you'd be forced to talk about uh, other places which you wouldn't normally even know.
Okay. Some people say that reading is the best way to relax. Do you agree?
Um, for me, I don't think so. Reading is the best way to relax, as whenever I want to relax, I either go out or play something on my computer, because it just takes the stress out of me and gives me a time away from my studies. And for some people it might be the case of reading being the thing which makes them relax, because uh, for them it might be something which calms them down in a quiet environment.
Okay. Uh, right. So young people are not interested in any news. What do you think?
No, I don't think so, because um, I don't think so, because sometimes when there's some viral news like what's happening now, everybody tends to get involved in it, and somewhere or the other, the curiosity of checking the news just rises up. But in some ordinary cases, it's just not that we don't look at the news.
Would you like to add anything else to that response?
No.
All right, last question, Afan. What are the advantages and disadvantages of writing a diary or a blog?
Sir, could you repeat?
What are the advantages and disadvantages of writing a diary or a blog?
Okay. Um, some of the advantages of writing a diary are that you could note down your personal experiences of that day, and whenever you feel it, you could review back to those things which happened to you in the past, or your experiences which you went through. And the disadvantage is disadvantage is that you have to remember everything that happened that day, and noting it down at the end of the day at night um would not be something which is interesting every time.
Okay, so that is the end of the test. And so we made it in time. That's good. Uh, for the reading question, so let me just put that on screen for you now. Right, so for the reading question, you said it uh, takes the stress out, right? So it's not take the stress out, it's take the stress off. So it
Okay.
takes the stress off. And right, so you said that, I don't think it's the best way for me. So instead of disagreeing that it's not the best way, what you could have said that it's really subjective. Subjective. Like you got
It means that it depends from person to person.
exactly right. So it depends on personal opinion, right? And so it's really what works for me. And like so it might be the best way to relax for people who enjoy reading, right? And of course, then you can have a debate on what you're reading, but it doesn't really work for me. So I'm not going to disagree with it. It's just it's not what I do, right? So and then you could say you could turn your talk about, either I go out for a walk, I sit in the park, maybe I go, shoot some hoops. That's what you say for basketball,
Yes.
right? So maybe I shoot some hoops or run a lap or so around the park, uh, or go out for some ice cream or whatever it is that you want to say. Or I play some games on my computer, right? So you could be the, you're playing Minecraft or Roblox or Fortnite or whatever. You could be more hardcore, so to speak, and playing stuff like, I don't know, Call of Duty or God of War or Halo or something. I don't know, right? So if you want to mention any games, so you said that really helps take the stress off for me. I do read from time to time, but it's not something that I choose to do, especially when it's to relax. So that's how you phrase it. And for the news part, that young people are not interested in news. You mentioned that when there's like a viral news going on, and we're keeping up with it, we're keeping in touch with the latest happening. You said curiosity rises up, and that's not how you would want to say it, right? It's like curiosity. How would you say it? You know, you could say that we do really get curious and we do try to stay up to date with what's going on, but on a general day-to-day basis, you could say that in that case we're not so much interested in what's going on. Okay, so just that rises up part was the focus. All right, anything that you would like to ask or suggest or add or something?
Yes, sir, I registered for the exam, but I haven't got the email for speaking.
So, right, for the speaking, they will only inform you maybe about a week or so before, like a few days before, right? So they're not very, I'd say they're not very, uh, like they don't inform you at like too much in advance, right?
Okay,
The windows there, so the window starting from I believe the 30th or 31st of March, right? And it's going somewhere till the mid of April. And so, if for example your speaking is on the 10th, and so they'll probably inform you on like maybe the 3rd or the 5th or something,
okay,
and you'll either be either or like or both. You'll be informed with the email that you used to register and the mobile number that you used to register.
okay,
Right, so either you'll be informed on both of them or either one of them. So check your email and you'll get an email. So uh, right, so you can keep checking, like if you check regularly every day, then that's not an issue. And also like whatever number you use, so the SMS is also important.
okay.
Anything else?
And what about the normal exams?
Oh, the exam schedule was published like way back in January or something.
Yes,
I
yes, but yeah, I know the schedule, but when do you get the email for confirmation?
like if you've registered, haven't you got an email that you've registered?
Yeah, I got an email that I registered, but I saw some people talking on the group, uh, talking about some other email.
The statement of entry, I believe.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so that they only like share that about 2 weeks before the exam, so you'll hopefully get that in April.
Okay.
Anything else?
Okay. No, no, nothing else.
Right, so that's the end for this session. Hopefully, Aina shows up tomorrow and we can have speaking with her. So I'll see you guys next time, inshallah.